Everyone knows that Robert Downey Jr. played Iron Man in Disney's Marvel movies. People are just as familiar with the stars of Disney films like Will Smith in Aladdin or Daisy Ridley in The Force Awakens. Few people think about the voice actors behind Disney's other films, though. Since the late 1930s, Disney has been enchanting audiences with wonderful animated films. While those have made billions of dollars, the voice actors who star in the films rarely get treated the way they deserve. There are strict rules that these actors have to live by. Some are written by the Disney Corporation itself. Others are just the harsh realities of working in such a competitive field. So let's dive into 10 rules Disney actors have to follow. Imagine a story about a young girl who wanted to be a princess. She eventually got her wish and so beautifully embodied a princess that she was loved for decades. The only problem was that her voice was captured by the kingdom and she was unable to sing for anyone else again. Sounds like a classic Disney movie, right? Well, it's actually the story behind one of Disney's first movie voice actors, Adriana Caselotti. You may know her better as Snow White. Snow White was the first fully animated feature film. It forever changed the landscape of cinema and the Disney Corporation's place in it. What's sad is that this fame didn't apply to its star. Caselotti wasn't even featured in the film's credits. What's even worse is that she had a pretty severe non-compete clause in her contract. She was unable to perform for any other company aside from Disney. They also wanted to make sure she didn't reveal her secret identity to the world. So despite having one of the most famous voices of all time, her only other major movie credits were bit parts in other films. It's weird that a studio behind a movie about an evil monarch who is jealous possessive of a young girl didn't know better. Evidently, the Mouse House doesn't possess a sense of irony. They can almost make their next Disney classic about the making of Snow White. The villain certainly writes itself. Luckily, the lives of voice actors have gotten much better since then, but that doesn't mean there isn't still drama. The process of selecting a voice actor for Disney movies is pretty difficult for the American version. It's even more complicated when you realize that they have to get different voice actors for every single language. By now, you probably know that Kristen Bell was the voice of Princess Anna in Frozen, but you likely have no idea who Janet Hsieh is. She provided the Mandarin version of Anna for the Chinese release. The process was actually quite difficult. She was fluent, but Mandarin wasn't her native language, so she had to get a voice coach to record all of the lines for her so she would get it right. She not only had to translate the words to Mandarin, but also Kristen Bell's performance. It's hard enough to just be a voice actor, let alone a Chinese voice actor of a different voice actor. The actress also tried to infuse as much of her in the Chinese version of Anna as well. So if you're watching Frozen in Mandarin, it's a combination of both actresses through some intense work. If you know Alan Tudyk, you probably recognize him as Wash from Firefly. You may also know his voice from several different big-budget movies. He was Sonny in I, Robot and K2 in Rogue One. Not only that, but he's been Disney Animation's Lucky Penny for years. He's performed in every Disney animated movie since he was King Candy in Wreck-It Ralph. Tudyk showed what his job as a veteran voice actor was really like for Hey Hey and Moana. It seemed like this was an exhausting experience. He had to squawk at full volume dozens of times over to get the proper intonation for animation's stupidest chicken. Just watching him do it is enough to make your throat hurt. What's crazier is that Tudyk didn't even have a singing role in Moana. Idina Menzel and all of the other voice actors that worked on Frozen had to sing that song until they got it right. The movie was made in 25 languages, so that's quite a lot of Let It Go to sing. It's enough to make you want a lozenge. Disney has featured some of the greatest voice actors of all time in their films. They've been able to court talents like Idina Menzel, Zachary Levi, Eddie Murphy, and countless others. While it's easy to be impressed with their results, we should be even more impressed with the process that led to them. The audition process to voice a Disney character is far from an easy one. For starters, the specific details of the film's actors' audition have to remain secret. Often, actors have only a rough drawing and few details to work with. They're expected to use their imaginations to fill in the blanks. The entire process often has to be hurried when it comes to child actors as well. The filmmakers will often wait until the last minute to cast these roles. Children age fast, and if they aren't careful, their voices will have changed. The entire thing sounds like the most intense American Idol spin-off ever. That's definitely a show I would watch. Mickey, Minnie, and Goofy could all act as judges, though it would probably be hard for any of them to say anything mean. You'd probably have to get Mickey's nemesis Pete on the panel just so the acceptance rate wouldn't be 100%. Robin Williams completely changed the animation industry forever when he played the genie in Aladdin. Before then, animated movies weren't really sold on their celebrity talents. Now they seem to almost be exclusively sold on voices. Looking at you, Shrek. The sad thing about this is that this is the opposite of what Williams wanted. Sure, he was excited to do a voice for Disney, but he didn't want it to overshadow the film. His one stipulation for doing Aladdin was that his voice and character wouldn't be used to sell toys and fast food. As everyone knows by now, Disney very much did not go for this. Genie was used to advertise everything from toys to hamburgers. Luckily, Disney didn't do the same thing with Will Smith's Genie. Can you imagine the horrifying CGI version of the character trying to sell you fast food? No one would have bought a hamburger again. When you think of Disney voice actors, you probably only think of the animated movies. People often forget about the talented puppeteers that lend their skills to Jim Henson's Muppets. While everyone adores the lovable gang, that doesn't always apply to the actors behind them. Kermit, for example, is synonymous with the Muppets. Jim Henson may have originated the role, but several other actors have played him. One of the most notable was Steve Whitmire, who started playing everyone's favorite frog for 27 years. He played the part through several television projects and movies, including the wonderful Jason Segel film. All of this changed when he was fired from the role with almost no warning. While there are disputes about why the actor was fired, Whitmire was very vocal about not having a chance to change things. You'd think that playing Kermit for over 2 decades would grant you more job security than working at a pizza place. Evidently not. The next Muppets movie should feature Whitmire playing an out-of-work Kermit who has to watch as a new Kermit takes over. Too on the nose for the Muppets? Nah. Things have gotten a lot of better for voice actors since none were credited for Snow White. That being said, few actually get the credit they deserve. Everyone knows Michael Keaton played the titular character in 1989's Batman. That same year, Billy Crystal and Meg Ryan became Hollywood royalty for When Harry Met Sally. Few people, on the other hand, could probably tell you that Jodie Benson was Ariel in The Little Mermaid. Despite starting what's referred to as Disney's Renaissance, she's nowhere near as famous as the film she starred in. She's even gone on record saying that she made peace with the fact that she'll never be a household name. Hopefully, they at least grant her a cameo in the live-action remake. Frozen is the most successful animated film of all time. A lot of the reason for this has to do with the amazing voice talent that brought the famous characters to life. One of the biggest characters is the lovable snowman Olaf, voiced by the wonderful Josh Gad. Unfortunately, Gad didn't get paid appropriately for what he did for Disney. While the film made billions, Gad has gone on record saying he only made a few thousand. That's especially sad considering how much Olaf has been used to market the film. He wasn't the only actor who was underpaid for the animated juggernaut. Spencer Lacey Gannis played the teenage Elsa for the movie. Unfortunately, she was only paid about $926 for the performance. Despite having a large role in a billion-dollar movie, she likely wasn't even able to pay rent from her profits. Good thing it doesn't cost money to build a snowman. The Robin Williams Aladdin situation wasn't just bad for Robin Williams. In fact, it's proven to be bad for voice actors everywhere. Before Aladdin, animated features were mostly voiced by obscure character actors with the odd celebrity here and there. Now, celebrities have taken over the industry. This means that some veteran voice actors who've been working in the industry for decades are now out of work. Animated movies are much more likely to court bigger names like Will Smith or Antonio Banderas. How could they possibly compete? That was far from the case in the good old days. Voice actor Mel Blanc was known as the man of 1,000 voices. He's perhaps the most famous voice actor of all time. He was the voice behind Mickey's animated rival Bugs Bunny and a great deal of the other Looney Tunes. He also worked for Disney's other rival, Hanna-Barbera. Today, there's little room for such an actor to make the same type of mark. Instead of giving something over to a quality character actor who could be the next Blank, we have to settle for whatever big-name celebrity the studio can get. Luckily, they still have animated television and video games to act in. Unfortunately, celebrities are starting to trickle into those industries as well. Even DuckTales is being voiced by actors like Danny Pudi, Ben Schwartz, and David Tennant. Those were all quality characters who could have gone to voice actors who needed the work. Soon they may have no recourse left. Everyone knows what Mickey Mouse sounds like. What few have realized is that the character has been voiced by over half a dozen actors. This is a much more difficult process than you might think. Russi Taylor had to beat out over 150 other actors to win the part of Minnie Mouse. There's an intense pressure to get these characters right. Everyone knows exactly what they sound like. If they sound strange, it ruins the production for both kids and adults who are familiar with the Disney gang. Luckily, Taylor was reported to be the embodiment of Minnie in more ways than one. During her time as the famous mouse, she met Wayne Allwine, who played Mickey. The two ended up falling in love and eventually got married, making their fictional romance real. I don't know about you, but that's the sweetest thing I've ever heard. I feel sorry for the actors that had to follow that. There you have it, some insight into the often difficult lives of Disney voice actors. Which story was your favorite? Let us know in the comments and don't forget to like and subscribe.